Good evening, YouTube. Welcome back once again to Phatkat Collections. And today, the topic of this video is, are Filippo Loreti watches any good? And I wanted to do a video like this because I find when I've done videos like this about a brand in general, they've been received with pretty good reviews. And of course, it's information for people. And you know, there's so many watch brands out there, and there's a lot of watch snobs and a lot of reviewers giving their opinion about watches. And I gotta tell you, the watch game is one of the snobbest areas of products to collect. You have more opinions and more dishonesty when it comes to watch collecting than almost any other hobby that I personally have seen. Let's be very clear. Now, anything I tell you is going to be my opinion. They're solely based on my experiences, and I'm going to be honest with you guys about how I feel about watches, all watches. Watches to me are a luxury item, all of them, because nobody really needs to wear a watch, unless of course you don't have a cell phone. Let's face it, when we walk around our house, we have computers, we have laptops, we have cell phones, tablets, ovens, microwave ovens, wall clocks. There's all kinds of things in our house or apartment or workplace to tell us what time it is, right? So a watch isn't something nowadays that people really absolutely need. It's not really imperative to being on time, okay? Now, if you do live in the part of the world where you don't have those things, then yeah, maybe a watch is more of a tool to you. But honestly, most people wear a watch because, yeah, it tells times, but it's really an accessory. It's really something that people wear as an addition to wearing shoes or a shirt or a tie or anything else that you put on your body to wear. A necklace, it doesn't really matter what it is. It is jewelry, in my opinion, for men. Now, women wear watches too, and it's jewelry for women as well. But, you know, men tend to wear, if you have to pick one item of jewelry that men, I think, are more consistent to wear, it's going to be a watch, okay? It's a piece of jewelry. Again, you don't need to wear a watch. If accuracy is your most important, you know, reason for wearing a watch, you're like, I have to have a watch on my wrist, I can't be pulling out my phone, I need to tell time, you don't need to spend a lot of money. You can buy a $3 eBay special quartz, and it'll tell time better than any Rolex on earth. So again, a lot of guys will tell you that, oh well, I like the whole idea of horology and what goes in. All that to me is nonsense. Okay. Now you can like a brand for their story. You can like a brand because of what they do, and you can respect the brand, and you can choose a brand based on that. But ultimately, people wear watches because it's an accessory. For me personally, it's always just been something that I like. The attention it gets me. I like telling people about my hobby. Obviously, I do YouTube videos. I like when people ask me, hey, what brand is that? I like to share my hobby with people. And ultimately, though, I just like to accessorize myself. Like I said, I can wear a necklace. I don't have a necklace collection, although I have a lot of necklaces. You know, I have a lot of cologne. I like to change it up. So I like the variety for me personally. That's why I like to wear a watch, okay? It is a fashion statement, okay? And it doesn't really matter if I wear a small watch or a large watch. They're all the same to me. I enjoy all of them. Now, some guys will lead you to believe that when they wear a watch, it's strictly to tell time. No. I don't buy that at all. A watch, when you wear a luxury brand watch, you're doing it because you want the attention. You want the recognition and the perception that people will look at you and say, oh, the guy's wearing a really expensive watch. He must be successful. Now, ultimately, there's so many different reasons why people choose to wear a watch, but ultimately, in my opinion, there's only one true reason. And I don't want to overgeneralize, but for the most part, there's one true reason, and that is because it's a fashion piece. It's a piece of jewelry, okay? It's an accessory. So whatever your reasons you want to wear a watch, that to me is first and foremost with anybody who wears a watch on their wrist. You don't, you know, even if you wear a smartwatch, you don't really need a smartwatch to tell time. Your phone has the clock. Now, putting that aside, there's always comes down to, you know, guys who think that there's these huge differences in watches. Now, there are differences based on, you know, brand and price, and there's a lot of factors that go into what makes a watch cost more. Ultimately, watches are one of the most marked up items that you can buy, in my opinion. There is no reason watches have to cost $10,000. And I know that a lot of guys out there will try to convince maybe novice collectors or people who haven't worn a watch before or liked other watches that there is this overwhelming difference that you can't even compare a brand like Invicta and a luxury brand like Rolex or, you know, Omega or any of those other brands. And that's completely false. If you actually look at the two brands side by side, there are going to be differences, but most of those differences, somebody really who knows about them would have to point those out. They're not differences that you're going to pick up and say, oh man, yeah, I can see this. Obviously, this is a Rolex. You can feel it. You really can't, you know. Now, there are differences in finishing, and a lot of the differences on a lot of those luxury brands are going to be internal differences. They're things you can't see. They're things that aren't tangible. They're not things that you can see with the naked eye or feel with your hands. So, again, it comes down to, well, why are you spending the money? Now, whatever the reason is for you to buy what you like is totally fine. But I want to do these videos because there are people who, a new brand will come out, it'll be a crowdfunded brand, like, and I'm not saying Filippo Loreti is, but there's many brands out there that get shit on, you know. And one guy had commented on my channel saying, oh man, I'm not going to watch you again. You reviewed Filippo Loreti and you gave it a good review. I have a couple watches here. I just want to give you guys a quick side-by-side. I have an Invicta. I have a fake Rolex, a DH Gauge Special. I have a Bulova Precisionist, a Filippo Loreti, and I have a D-Done Design. And I can tell you these watches, the price range on these is pretty comparable. You know, you can get, you know, most of these for, I'd say in the, again, if you're not getting ripped off, in the sub $300 range. And I can tell you that I have a couple of the watches in my collection that are over $1,000. You know, like my Aquadive, my Visser watch has come down a little bit in price, but these are watches that are more on the higher end scale. I've felt many watches, I've held many watches, and I can tell you at the end of the day, they're all pretty darn similar once you get to a certain level of and I don't want to use price, but there is a certain level of quality where there's not a lot of change. You know, when you start looking at watches that are like I've said in the past, really affordable Invictas that are, and I hate using price because price is not a determining factor, but on average, if you look at the Invictas that are $30 to $40, like one of the ones that I've reviewed on the channel, I forget which one it was, but there is a difference you can feel. You know, if you go picking up a $10 or $15 watch on eBay, and again, I don't want to use price, but we kind of have to in this case. There is a real difference. You're going to pick up the two and say, all right, I really can feel the difference between these two watches. You know, one just feels well made, there's better materials. But once you get to a certain point, and I like to use it when it comes to Invicta, the Pro Diver level, I think is a very safe level where the quality between Pro Diver and everything else Invicta makes that's above that is all on par with one another. With that being said, it's on par with many, hundreds and hundreds of brands out there. And in my opinion, from what you can feel, a Rolex any day of the week. Now again, the Rolex is going to be worth more money. It's going to have a better resale value, absolutely. You know, doesn't mean you're going to make money on it, but it's always going to be worth more because that's what the going rate is. It's a more expensive watch. People are fanatical about Rolex watches. They will pay over MSRP for a watch. Which, I mean, just so you guys know, anytime you pay over MSRP or even MSRP, most things that have a manufacturer suggested retail price, you get cheaper. Just like cars, it's like anything else. Most MSRPs are inflated. They're higher, and then that gives room for stores and businesses or whoever's selling them to cut the price and to, you know, attract new customers or attract a buyer. Now, I don't mean to overgeneralize that's with everything. Some things are price controls, right? But ultimately, MSRP is always more. Whenever you pay MSRP, you did not get a deal. You did not. Now again, like with Rolex, you know, if you're going to buy something at MSRP and it's still, let's say a watch costs $10,000 MSRP and people are paying $15,000 and you got it for MSRP, in that case, you did get a deal because you will be able to flip it for that, at least at that time, right? So it's different with everything. But when we're looking at these watches, I want to show you guys, and you're not really going to be able to tell by the video. All you can really do is take my opinions and take my word for it. But I can tell you that these watches with these different price points, and honestly with most of the watches, over 150 I have in my collection, and of most of the watches I've had my hands on over the years, there's really not much difference. Again, I'm not saying that if somebody is a professional watchmaker, a Rolex representative, somebody who represents these companies and can really pick the watch apart. There are differences. I'm not stating that they're the same watch, but the differences are things that aren't really going to matter to most people. They're only going to matter really in your own mind. You know, is a Rolex going to be more accurate than, let's say, a Seiko-driven H35? You know, and that's found in a lot of Invictas. It probably will be if everything's working correctly. Is it going to be more accurate than my Bulova Precisionist? Not even close. Not even close, not even the same. This Bulova Precisionist blows away every Omega and Rolex watch ever made as far as accuracy. But they're different machines. This is a quartz Precisionist. It's designed to be accurate. So again, for me personally, the whole accuracy thing never really made any sense. Because if accuracy really is the reason you're buying a particular watch, there's other options that are far cheaper in most cases. And again, I don't want to overgeneralize that because, you know, if you're saying, oh, well, I'm buying a Precisionist because it's accurate, you would be right, because a Precisionist is one of the most accurate watches you can get. I'm not saying there's not other accurate watches, not saying it's the most accurate watch in the world, but it is incredibly accurate. And when you start comparing these to watches that cost, you know, $10,000 compared to this I paid $280 for, you know, this blows those watches completely out of the water. Now, it's not an automatic watch. It is a quartz-driven watch, but if accuracy is your, real concern, does it, what does it matter, right? So now, if you want a watch because you're like, oh, well, I like an automatic watch, I want an accurate automatic watch, then the reasons for buying different watches, those reasons change. But ultimately, a lot of guys paint the picture that the reason they buy certain luxury brands is for all these other reasons, but most of the time it's just because you're buying it for the name. Now, I don't want to overgeneralize with everybody and say that that's the case with every single person. It's not. Everybody's got their reasons, but those reasons usually, in my opinion, it's usually about the name, okay? Now, with these watches here I have here, again, your Bulova Precisionist, if we're just looking at straight up quality, what you feel in your hand, the finishing you can see with your naked eye. When I look at this Bulova Precisionist, and this is about $280, retail, and this is like MSRP about $750. I've heard of people paying. I remember one time at one of my jobs, guy was like, and the first time I saw this, I was like, oh man, what is that? He's like, Precisionist. I'm like, that's beautiful, And, I said, what does that cost? And I paid $750 for it. So I paid $280. So again, you have to be a smart shopper and know that that's an inflated price, and some people are going to get ripped off. But when we compare, okay, this $56 DH-Gate fake Submariner, and we compare these watches, the Bulova is heavier, okay, but that's not a complete indication that one's better than another, right? But when we look at what we have here, we look at just like the way the bezel turns, there's a little bit of back play on this $50 watch. It's not completely perfect. There's a little bit of movement, not much though. It's not flopping all over the place. We look at the finishing, the stainless steel. I mean, these watches, I can't tell you that one is better than the other. They look exactly the same to me. They're just different. One's got, different, some gold plating, but they both feel substantial. They both look nice. The finishing, there's not like, one's not like all full of burrs or anything like that. And that's what the argument is a lot of times with a lot of guys who like the luxury brands. They'll tell you, oh man, they'll shit on Invicta or other brands and make this claim that these watches are so well finished. And I'm not saying if you put these two under a macro lens, you may see a difference. But to the naked eye, there's no difference. And this isn't even a Rolex. This is a $50 fake. Now I know it's not an indication of Rolex, but this is just an example that I'm showing you guys. So when we go ahead and compare, let's say another two watches. Let's just take a look at the watch we're talking about today. The question, is Filippo Loreti a good brand? Is it any good? We compare the Filippo Loreti to, let's say, bit different watch, but this big ass Sub-Aqua Noma 5, right? One of my favorite watches. The play in the band, it's not flopping all over the place. We don't have to use terms like band stretch like a lot of these guys will use for Rolex. Oh, it's got band stretch. There's no such thing as band stretch. It's called band. Metal does not stretch. Metal bends. Now, metal may change under high heat and stuff like that, but metal doesn't bend, stretch, okay? There's no elasticity to it, okay? If a band is bending way over, it's because the tolerances between the way the links and the pins, it's loose, okay? You can see this doesn't flop around. And again, it's not an indication of quality. It's just an indication of how they manufacture the band. But it's funny how they'll make excuses with this band bending way over on some of the old school Rolexes. And they'll make excuses, but then they'll talk about the fit and finish, how great it is. Well, there's no movement. The tolerances with this Invicta and this Filippo Loreti, all these things are perfect. There's no obscene gaps on one side, things not lining up. The finishing's nice on both these. The Sub-Aqua Noma 5 price will range. I paid about $3 for this. Filippo Loreti, the quality's on par. The finishing looks nice. The areas that are polished look good. They look no different than the Invicta. The bands are put together with friction pins on both of these, which are comparable. No, there's no screws. It's just a different way. Some use screws, some use friction pins. You know, when we look at all the details in these watches, although one is more elaborate than the other, the quality is on par with one another. You know, we have a threaded case back. We have a threaded case back on this watch. Now, the crystals to the naked eye look exactly the same. Invicta's going to use a flame fusion. I forget what Filippo Loreti, I think it uses some kind of not acrylic, but some sort of mineral glass. I've never scratched a crystal in my life. So, you know, on paper, is a sapphire better? Yeah, you know. In real world, I don't know. Is it? You know, I mean, I've heard stories of guys shattering crystals and scratching crystals, and you know, if you're careful with your watches, it doesn't really matter. You know, it's not like the sapphire is indestructible, and it's not like you're looking at a watch that's, oh, this has got flame fusion, well, this has got sapphire, and this is indestructible, you're not going to break it ever. There's no guarantees like that. So, is it really necessary? They both look nice, right? No difference. They both shine nice. They both are very easy to read. As far as the way that the function pushers and crown work, and these are both quartz watches. You know, when I pull the crown out in this Invicta and I adjust the time, see how it feels. It doesn't feel gritty. It feels super smooth. There's no grit at all, you know. If we do the same with the Filippo Loreti, and I forget which movement the Filippo Loreti is using, but there's no grit. It turns smooth. When we go ahead and turn it on the $50 DH Gate Special, let's see how this feels. There's no grit there, you know. It's not like, you know, there's nothing going on there. So, you know, what are you paying for with a super expensive watch? So let's go ahead and look at D-Done. This is another, this one is an automatic. So, I mean, I get if you want an automatic watch. I would always choose an automatic over a quartz, although it's not superior. You never have to worry about changing the battery, and I think that's kind of nice. I do like the fact that, I do find it interesting that there are so many moving parts in there and these little parts all working together. But when you look at this watch and through the exhibition window, it looks like an automatic movement. You know, Rolex doesn't even put an automatic, an exhibition window in their watches. You know, obviously they're not well beautifully finished, or they'd show them off, right? So I mean, when you look at the quality of this watch compared to your, you know, Filippo Loreti, everything's nice. Finishing is what it's either. You either have you have a couple different polishing techniques for the most part on steel. You have polished, you have brushed, and you have matte. You know, they look great. They both look comparable. When we compare this to the Precisionist, again, both these watches looking good. There's no crazy differences with the Filippo Loreti that feels cheap or cheesy. It feels like a well-made watch. We compare this to another brand new Invicta I got here, the giant Shack 5 time zone watch. You know, although it's a heavier watch, they both feel well made. You know, one doesn't have the band flopping all over the place. There's not, you know, all kinds of you know, a lot of insane tolerances on the band. You know, the bezel turns real nice and smooth on the Loreti. It's not wobbling all over the place. It fits the watch very well. You know, if we go to shake the bezel back and forth, it's not, you know, flopping all over the place like some of these idiots will lead you to believe. And a lot of guys turn the bezel on. I remember one guy said turn the bezel on a Rolex and then turn it on an Invicta, and then you'll see the difference. There's no difference in this. This is a nice smooth bezel on this Filippo Loreti. There's no back play. Again, it's not wobbling. It's got it turns with authority. It's easy to turn. Fantastic, right? I mean, just fantastic. So, again, even just comparing this small, these 5 watches from my collection, or 6 watches from my collection here, you know, I could bust out the $2,000 Aqua Dive. I can bust out the $4,000 Alexander watch with the Valjoux automatic movement. You know, we can bust out the Visser watch. We can bust out the Delta T and all the other brands I have. But ultimately, all these watches are on par with one another. There's nothing that you're going to pick up with any of these watches. And if you throw a Rolex in the mix, you're not going to pick up any watch to a guy who has no idea about brand, has no idea about the accuracy or whether one's quartz or automatic. If you throw a Rolex watch or an Omega or a luxury watch, Grand Seiko, anything in the mix here, and you have no idea about brand recognition, all you're going to see is a bunch of nice watches, and you're not really going to see any difference. It's always the stuff that's on paper on why sometimes watches may be better than another. Again, it's going to come down to how they finish the inside, what they're using on the inside. But again, a lot of these automatic movements are fantastic. These Seiko NH35s are affordable. They refer to them as workhorse movements. They just keep going. They're great, solid, reliable movements. And so then again, it always comes down to, well, what are you paying for? So with these watches here, now there is a difference in price. We have the $50 DH Gate Special, we have the $280 Precisionist, the $300 Submach with Noma 5, we have the Filippo Loreti, which is about 170-ish, 150-ish. The D-Done. So price differences here. Again, D-Done, you're going to run about 86 bucks, but you're getting an automatic movement, which is pretty cool. I believe this automatic movement in this one here is a Miyota, but don't quote me on that. It might be a Seagull. These are not NASA space shuttles, guys. You know, they work. They just work. You know, and finishing, like if we're talking about, you know, I know some movements are just finished super well. Even the screws are polished, you know, super attention to detail, but you can't see that with your naked eye. And a lot of times they don't even have an exhibition window for you to check it out. So what's the point? What does it matter, right? When we go looking at the price point, again, on the, now when it comes to terms of value, there is a difference in value. And I feel like Invicta, when you look at it on sale, sometimes a $67 Pro Diver, that value is incredible, and that's pretty hard to beat. So when we're looking at brands like Filippo Loreti, and people say, well, is it a good watch? It's a great watch. It's a fantastic watch. But if you are in the market to get an automatic watch, you can get a D-Done, which is just as nice for $86. So it really just depends on what you like and what really, if you're looking for the best value and you're not too concerned with the actual styling, you may be looking for a watch with a nice matte gray face with a little bit of that orange on there, right? That diver's orange, right? Not many companies make a watch that looks like this. Filippo Loreti has kind of a different, a slightly different band compared to a lot of your homage watches. Like a lot of your homage watches that are Submariner inspired, which I do consider the Loreti a Submariner inspired watch, at least this one. You know, you can see the band. There's a difference there. I honestly like the way the Filippo Loreti likes over your standard Oyster band, you know? So again, there's different reasons on why somebody may choose another brand over another. And just because it's a, you know, a brand that's new on the block, or it's just like guys give Movement a really hard time. And a lot of guys are really dishonest. They say, oh, Movement buys their watches from Alibaba and puts their name on them. And I've heard that about Invicta too. No, they do not. I'm not saying that brands like this, like D-Done, that you might not find another brand that's exactly the same watch that maybe comes out of the same factory, but it's not some $10 watch you're going to get on I'm telling you, if you could find any one of these watches for the same exact watch, any one of them on DHgate or Alibaba or any of those sites, and you can get it for $10, $15, I'll even give you a $20 limit, and that's the same watch as these, then you know what? I'll never buy another Invicta watch ever again. I mean, honestly, like, and it's just not the case. There are, you know, a lot of the pictures that you find on sites like that, and again, I've ordered for sites like that, there's nothing wrong, just be a smart shopper. A lot of times you'll see, they'll show you the real Invicta, and then when you get it, it's some shitty fake, you know. I can tell you that if you go with these legitimate brands, and this is, again, when you buy a DHgate Special like this Rolex Submariner, there's a lot of sellers and a lot of people selling the same watch for different prices, and really they're all the same. But when you get to legitimate brands like Movement, like Invicta, like D-Done, these brands here, Bulova, you know, any of these brands, you're not getting some watch that somebody slapped another label on. These are their own things. Now, don't work for Movement. I don't work for Filippo Loreti. All I can tell you is when I pick up these, I can tell you tangible things. When I pick up these watches and feel them and hold them and compare them to my database of watches, of things I've felt, I can tell you that the quality's all on par. And no matter what you choose, you're not going to put any one of these watches on your wrist and then one day feel your buddy's Rolex and then hold it and wear it and be like, oh my God, what have I been wearing all my life? That's not going to happen. If you want to have the high-end luxury brand, you're going to have your own reasons for buying that. But I'm telling you, tangible quality you can feel, you are lying if you tell people that's the reason. Because every brand chooses to mark up their watches X number of dollars, right? I always feel like Invicta gives you the best value because of all the brands I've experienced out there, you really can't find on special an automatic Seiko driven pro diver watch with those kinds of materials, that kind of manufacturing for $67, $68. Nobody can touch that. Nobody. That doesn't mean, now if you're looking for the absolute best value, what's the best value watch? It's that Pro Diver, hands down, above and beyond any other watch on earth. If you're looking for an automatic you know, Rolex style stainless steel watch. I'll say there's other good values too, but that is really the best value. You know, if you like, you may not want, you know, a pro diver like looking like this. You may want something that looks more like, and this is a homage to what is it? The Royal Oak, right? You may want a watch that looks like this. You may like the way, any one of these watches you get, you're going to be happy with. Nobody's going to put these on, unless you are a liar, nobody's going to put these watches on and say, oh my God, it feels like a piece of dog shit. Completely false, completely dishonest. So again, I know I kind of went around in a circle there quite a bit, but ultimately the question is Filippo Loreti a good brand? Absolutely. It's on par with a lot of the watches that I've had my hands on. You're not going to get it and feel like you're getting an inferior watch. I expected it to be like that inexpensive Invicta, where I do think is an inferior watch, right? But it's not with Filippo Loreti. Now, I can't say every one of them is the same. I can tell you that this particular watch, and I forget, you'll see it on their website. I'll put a link in the description. I can tell you that of these watches, it's on par with they're on par with one another. You're not gonna again, that argument of like, oh man, you're gonna feel the difference. No, you're not. You're not gonna feel the difference. The average person is not even gonna know what the difference is and what the hell you're paying for. And I don't just mean Rolex. I mean any other brand, Movado, Citizen, any brand that costs more than these watches. You're not gonna get some amazing difference in quality. You're gonna buy the watch, ultimately buy the watch because you like the name. Maybe it somehow appeals to you, and that's okay. But don't ever make it about quality, because it's just not true. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope I was helpful. If you have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to ask. Drop me a comment, drop me an email. I'm always here to help. As always, if you like the content, do subscribe to the channel, but click the bell to be notified anytime I upload a new video. If you found value in my video and you want to make a purchase, please do it through my affiliate links in the description. I do appreciate any time I get a small commission back from my work. And guys, happy holidays, happy 2021. Be safe out there, be kind to one another, and be thankful. Take care, guys.